Hello there and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 782. That is 782 of the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host Agostinho Zinga, and I hope you're doing well wherever this podcast may find you. I hope you are doing swimmingly. I hope you're doing kind. I hope you're doing fantastic. I hope you are doing the best you can during this lovely summer's day. How am I? All good, all things considered. I cannot complain. I cannot lie. I am still reeling, still smiling, still benning, still happy, still gleeful about United winning the flipping FA Cup final against Man City. I'm still not over it. I'm swear to God. I've been watching replays of the goals, seeing how we played, highlights, all of that malarkey has been very, very fascinating, very interesting to kind of peep, especially considering the fact that no one really gave us a chance, and we came and basically proved the whole world wrong, especially myself, because I didn't think we were going to win. But yeah, man, I'm still leading from that. It's been a nice way to kind of end the season. It's been a really terrible season for United, especially United fans. I don't think the players care as much as we do, because it's just a job to them, understandably. But United fans have definitely had to suffer seeing us play terrible football, seeing the manager gaslight the fan base in a way by convincing us that what we're seeing isn't terrible and that we're actually playing really well, despite in spite of the circumstances, and that injuries are the only reason why we're playing terribly. All of these nonsense things I hear from the manager, I absolutely hate. But he did end the season well, so you cannot hate on that front. You just have to kind of give him his flowers and allow him to kind of, ride into the summer with some feelings of good, with some good feelings, and kind of can't be grudging really for whatever's happening so far. There's been no real development on the managerial side of things. I've seen nothing really that's intimating or giving us any kind of nothing giving us any kind of indication that he's going to get fired anytime soon. I guess that's the only problem you'd have if you're a United fan. What is going to happen now in the future? What are we going to see now? Are we going to see him, be given a 1-year contract? Also, 1-year contract. Are we going to see him basically see out the last year of his contract? That's going to allow him to stay. Are we in line for a new manager? Is that what we're going to do? Because I personally would prefer that. But there's a part of me that also thinks, if this United board were actually on point and knew what they were doing, right? If they really knew what they were doing and they were kind of running a club the way that a real owner should run the club and not running the club based on what the fans think, you know what they should do? They should really go against convention and just give him another year. It's a 3-year contract anyway. You might as well let him see out the 3-year contract. And if it all goes tits up, you can just fire him in January, because you already got a list of people you're looking at. So you can already get them spec'd up or get them in line for January if needs be. Or if you want, obviously go for them in the summer. But if you're really trying to do things differently and really trying to kind of, lay out the groundwork, you kind of have, it would also give you another year to get rid of these squad players that we don't want, the likes of Luke Shaw's and Harry Maguire's, who are going to be hard to sell because they're, they're just English players that have an inflated price against them. So actually the best way to kind of do things, if you're really, really being clever, if you're really being astute, is to maybe give Erik ten Hag this last season coming up, let him see out the last year of his contract, and then if anything changes, if anything goes belly up, you can just fire him during the season, especially around January. That's what you should really do if you were being smart. But again, are these owners smart? Are they really kind of clocked on? Are they wise to what's happening? Or are they just going to go by what the fans are saying? Are they going to go for the flavor of the month manager now, and then it's going to go tits up anyway? I'm not really too sure, but I would like to see a little bit more of a clever, nuanced, very kind of, I don't know, I guess data-driven, patience, really looking at things from the bird's eye view kind of actions, as opposed to moving with any kind of panic. So far, checking Sky Sports News, there is no real big update in terms of managerial changes. We've seen some news here regarding Dortmund not being able to afford Sancho permanently, which makes sense considering the wages he's on. There's also some news about us wanting to sign Braithwaite as a centre-back. That could be another Maguire situation, but it is what it is. McKenna had been ruled out of Man United job now because he signed a new contract extension with Ipswich, so I guess that is what it is. But there's been no update so far on the managerial position of Erik ten Hag, so I guess we'll have to wait and see with that and what's occurring. but I'm still gleefully happy, still over the moon, and still celebrating in my mind this FA Cup win. Just an epic performance. It would have been probably cherry on the cake if we were able to kind of finish the game without conceding. That would have been fucking brilliant. But Man City are a great team. We have a shaky defense, and you know, those two things can sometimes you know, acquiesce, and sometimes you can end up conceding against a team like Man City. But the fact that we beat them so fairly, we beat them so squarely, in all manners, all across the pitch, all of our players got 10 out of 10s, I'm still gleefully happy and over the moon about. So big up United, big up motherfucking United. On another topic, I want to give a big shout out to this guy, because I've had a lot of negative things to say about this dude, because I'm not really the biggest fan of his shoes. I'm not really the biggest fan of how he kind of carries himself on social media. But big shout out to John Geiger. Big shout out to John Geiger for dropping maybe one of the best and most important shoes of his entire sneaker making career. So John Geiger recently dropped this shoe called the 004. And he dropped it recently. It's completely sold out now, as you can see, courtesy of his website here. But I want to give this guy a big shout out, because you might know of John Geiger specifically because of his Air Force One type shoes that he makes, right? It's called the GF-01. By the way, I don't like how the numbers are done already. There's something I don't like about the numbers, the lack of continuation. So I guess on this particular shoe, it's called the GF-0-01, and then he's got a shoe here that's called the Grey 002 with no dash, and then you've got this shoe which is called the 004. I don't like that lack of continuation. Like, either call them a name or have them numbered, like, you know, and follow the same style guide, if that makes any sense. But regardless, you know him mostly because of these copy Air Force One things that he makes that a lot of people tend to like. Essentially, it's the same styles of an Air Force One, a little bit more of a straighter line, a bit more of a sleeker midsole and shit. But essentially, he's taken the same silhouette as an Air Force One, and instead of a swoosh on the side, he's added his G to kind of represent his surname Geiger, right, on the side there. And I've always hated these. I thought they look fucking awful. I thought the best thing that he did was the checks over stripes, or is it checks over stripes, or is it the many stripes? I forgot what that shoe was actually called. It was like a John Geiger Air Force One high. John Geiger Air Force One. It was a high. I forgot what the name of it was called, and it came in black and white. This is the best thing, one of the best things he's ever done. So it's this particular one here. It comes in black and white. It's an Air Force One high that he edited, or he kind of custom made, and he basically, it's called the misplaced check, sorry. And essentially what he's done is that he's added loads of extra swooshes on the side of the Air Force One, which is kind of a cool look, to be fair. He's got like 3 more extra ones added onto it, so it kind of splays all over the side there. And then he's got a little different kind of strap as well, with different sort of text on it and whatever it may be. So a really cool custom that he did that kind of put his name on the map, I feel like, for the most part. But then of course he went on to go and do his own shoe that's similar to an Air Force One, this Geiger GF-001. I personally have always hated the shoe. I thought it's very unimaginative. It kind of, for me, speaks to the overall malaise, the overall lack of real, how do you say, overall malaise, the overall lack of, let's say, passion, the overall lack of creativity within the custom sneaker market in general. A lot of those guys don't really seem to have any type of creativity or original thought. It's all just copying already established silhouettes, which I can understand why, because the established silhouettes that you're copying are some of the most legendary shoes ever. But come on, look at this particular shoe that he did, right? It's called, as you can see here on the top, it's got this linen kind of brown type of colorway here with a pink logo. Essentially, he's just copied the Nike colorway from the legendary Nike Air Force One linens. He's just copied that colorway and put that on a fucking Air Force One, which I don't think is, I don't think that's kosher. Let's get this up on here again. Look at this one, right? So the Air Force One, so he's just taken that fucking colorway and put it on his own silhouette. Essentially, that is a copy of an Air Force One. So I've never really been the biggest fan of him, and I think he's been a bit, a little bit lazy with his creativity. But you have to give the guy credit and props for creating an entirely brand new silhouette. Don't get me wrong, it does look a little bit like a Speridon and maybe some other shoes within the sportswear kind of category, but essentially he's created with this 004 Stealth a completely new silhouette from the ground up that looks very distinct, very different, that doesn't look at anything on the market at the moment, and that I think will be the representation of what will be how he's, no, I think this will be more so how he's remembered, as opposed to the GF-001. This is what you should be wanting to be remembered by. This is what you should want people to think of you as when they think of John Geiger. They should think of this type of silhouette, this type of originality, this type of fucking shape, materials, size, proportions, colorways, whatever. This is what they should be thinking of, not a fucking copy of an Air Force One, because this particular model is fire, in my personal opinion. I love the mix on the outsole here. You've got this kind of almost tire tread on the outsole, and then you've got this nice pebbled midsole here that kind of reminds me of an NMD. So it kind of has a hint of that, the Adidas NMD vibe about here. I love this cage design, where you've got this cage design here, which I'm sure has some sort of like practical use to it. But if you squint at it high long enough, I think you can make out that it's almost like his name. I think you got a G there and maybe like a J somewhere, but you can spell out his name on the side here. I love the addition of these little what you call it, I love the addition of the stitching marks here on the outside of the cage. You've also got John Geiger 004 written on the side over here. I love the hits of the pull tab with it being orange. You got this nice safety orange pull tab on the side, on the back of the heel. You've also got a nice pull tab here on the tongue, and you've also got the same sort of orange tone pull tab running along here the tongue as well, where you can tuck in your laces, and you've got this nice round what you call it, I guess you'd call it webbed, no, you call it speckled, whatever, that's rope design weight lace, I guess you'd call it, there as well going on. That looks really cool, and a nice pearly white insole on the lining. Personally for me, I think this is one of the best things John Geiger's ever created. It definitely is the type of thing that I would want to purchase. Like I've always said, I think if you're going to purchase a shoe that isn't a sportswear shoe, similar goes for like a designer, like luxury brands. I've never understood the point of luxury brands trying to make running shoe alternatives. Like if you're gonna buy a Balenciaga shoe, you want it to look like a Balenciaga shoe. You don't want it to look like an Asics, which is why I don't really like the Asics shoe they have out at the moment that everyone kind of is creaming over. I prefer just to buy an Asics. But if you're gonna get a Balenciaga shoe, let it look a bit mad, a bit crazy. So if you're gonna give me triple sole, double sole, quadruple sole, all this sort of exaggerated, you know, proportions, I'm all for it, because I can't get that from my regular sportswear brands. What I can get from my regular sportswear brands are sportswear shoes, so don't copy them. So I think if you're a independent shoemaker like John Geiger and you're doing your own thing, you're probably better off, in my opinion, trying to make your own fresh silhouettes as opposed to just copying Air Force Ones. You know, it's a bit boring, in my personal opinion. It doesn't really do anything. You're not really adding to the conversation by making a copy of an Air Force One. You're better off dying on your own sword and dying on your own shield, per se, by just doing your own shape and giving the customer, giving the fan base, giving the potential customer a real question, a real kind of head scratcher. Okay, what should I spend my $200 on? Another pair of Jordan 1 retros in another shitty colorway with terrible materials, or take a punt on this guy making shoes basically out of his quote unquote studio? Do you know what I mean? That's basically what you would prefer to do, and I think these are really fucking good. The shape of them looks fucking cool. If I'd be a bit nitpicky, I'd say you probably didn't need to have a contrasting stitch on the toe here. Maybe just making this tonal would have been a bit better. I don't think the contrasting stitch works on the toe. If I got them, I'd probably want to dye the stitching here. But I think overall, they look fucking fantastic. I can't really complain. There's a nice 3M hit here at the back as well. The tire tread outsole continues up around the heel and reaches up to the midsole of the heel as well. So you got this nice wraparound effect on the back to give it a little bit of extra chunk. And they've got the great size, and look at the tread as well. Look how unique the tread is. Underneath the tread as well, you've got loads of different little logos here. I guess the John Geiger logo right on the bottom, and of course John Geiger there right in the middle, which looks fairly cool and fairly decent. The only problem, I'd say, there's not a lot of flex on that sole. You know, it's a very flat sole. There's not a lot of flex on it. Maybe the flex comes from some of the tire tread here on the outside rim. Maybe a lot of the tie or the flex of the sole comes from there, but there's not a lot of flex on the midsole, on the mid part of the sole. There's not a lot of flex here, not a lot of flex there. Maybe the flex comes around the tread of the round of it. But in general, I really like the shoe. And I guess I'm not the only one that likes the shoe, because if you actually check his website, they're completely sold out. which makes sense. Why? Because they're $202, which is pretty decent, I think, for like an independent shoe brand, right? To make a shoe, and they sold out in every fucking single size. They sold out in minutes. In absolute minutes. The blurb says, step into the future of the 004 Stealth, redefining style and functionality, crafted from durable KPU and breathable mesh. The intricate stitching and hidden John Geiger branding adds a touch of sophistication, while the vibrant orange pull tabs and turquoise details set it apart, featuring John Geiger's proprietary Zero Tech and EVA popcorn layer midsole, fully redesigned rubber outsole. It ensures unparalleled comfort and support. Designed for everyday wear, this versatile sneaker blends form and function seamlessly, making it a standout addition to any wardrobe. Each pair comes with a Gator JG shoebox along with a John Geiger branded dust bag. So big up John Geiger. I'm glad that people are buying them, because I think sometimes people don't listen to the customers unless there's great demand. So the fact that everybody's buying these and they've sold out, I think is hopefully going to give him a hint that fans want to see this more from him and less Air Force One copies, in my personal opinion. I think he's done what he can do with those shoes. He killed it. He made a bunch of money. He was really successful. He put his name out there. But enough of those Air Force Ones. Please, enough of that GF-001 model. We don't want to see it anymore. I want to see more of these type of shoes, more of a fucking, you know, elevation of this, really testing his design skills and pushing himself and the customers and challenging them with new silhouettes and new shapes. Because again, this is a new silhouette or shape, but not really. It's kind of like a runner that you've seen before, but it's not. You know, he's kind of taken a regular runner shoe and updated it in a really neat and interesting way, especially when you think about the panels on the outside. It's got this nice mesh outsole. So if you take away this cage, it's just like a mesh shoe, but the cage adds a bit of character, a bit of edge to it without the necessary panels on the top, which probably might help in manufacturing actually when you think about it. But these look fucking cool, really fucking cool. So big up John Geiger, great to see. And I'm hoping, like I said before, that this will spur him to keep doing it, because according to his Twitter, a lot of people tried to buy them and they were sold out. So clearly the demand has been super high. Everybody's fucking copying them and going crazy. So big up John Geiger for being able to fucking sell these out. I think they might have sold out in an hour, it looks like, or maybe less than an hour. He says wow here, and he says wow. So I guess a lot of people kind of didn't get them when they were dropped, because they kind of, I guess, got backdoored via Shopify. Maybe another colorway is due to come out too, this sort of like green limey colorway, which I don't really like, too tough to be fair. I think the best colorways of this particular shoe are definitely the black and that white colorway that he has here in the header. That black and white colorway are definitely the best ones. But big up John Geiger, great fucking shoe. Hopefully he keeps developing and refining that silhouette and keeps fucking taking it to higher heights, because I think this is definitely where his future lies in terms of sneaker design, in my personal opinion. But again, what do I know? I'm just a random guy from Stratford talking out of my fucking ass. Cool, amazing. Next, we have to talk about this story. This is a very sad and tragic story courtesy of Sky News regarding this watch dealer called Oliver White. So RIP to Oliver White, and thoughts and feelings go out to his family. Jewellery shop assistant found dead after being robbed. Shouldn't have been left alone, says store owner. So this store assistant here, as you can see from the picture, was unfortunately the victim of a robbery that went kind of viral on my side of social media. I'm sure some of you guys have seen the video clip, but essentially he's in the shop showing these two gentlemen watches, and they basically, one of the guys, I think this guy here with a bald head, comes behind him and gets him in a sort of chokehold thing, and the other guy starts taking the watches from the store and putting them into bags and shit. And unfortunately the day after that incident happened, the guy ends up taking his own life. And I think a lot of people are basically saying that that may have happened as a consequence of this robbery, because allegedly, I think according to some other TikTok I saw, he was robbed before, the insurance didn't come through, he'd been going through it in terms of saving money for a house or whatever, just whatever, you know, life shit, innit? Who knows what the actual reason behind it was, but you never know what people are going through. Everyone can look like they're on top of the world and having a great time on social media, but clearly he was fighting his demons, clearly he was going through something, and obviously that robbery that he suffered didn't really help things. So let's read the actual article itself. A shop assistant found dead after being robbed at West London Jewellers should never have been left alone. Oliver White, 27, who worked at the 247 Kettles in Kew Garden, Richmond, was found dead at his home in Surrey on the 26th of May. The day after, two armed two unarmed men stole a number of higher value watches from the jewelers. CCTV footage posted online appears to show a shop worker being put in a chokehold during a raid. Mr. White family said in a statement shared by the Surrey police on Sunday that the watch dealer was left traumatized and unable to speak after the robbery. Again, you like, to be fair, I've seen a lot of people online also chastising the robbers. I guess that's one of the reasons why you should never rob people in the first place. But the robbers were never to know what he was going through. They didn't, you know, they didn't hit him or anything. They put him into a chokehold and shit, which I think was fair play in terms of that regard. No actual violence in that regard was atoned to him. But it seems like just the ordeal of what he went through was probably way more traumatic and way more hurtful than actually getting hit. That's the actual sad part about it. Actually being physically, you know, obviously he was physically assaulted because he was put into a chokehold, but being kind of, you know, punched in the face or kicked and shit and whatever, that would have been less traumatic than what he actually had to go through, seeing all those watches in front of him get taken, you know, stuff that he's basically worked on, maybe deals that he's kind of spent a long time attaining, you know, whatever, just loads of stock from a shop. And, you know, people sometimes as well, I think online, do take it for granted that some people actually find their vocation, find their calling through work. Maybe this job that he had selling watches or working in this jeweler was actually something that he really loved to do, and he took it very seriously. Even though it wasn't his own shop, even though the watches weren't his, he acted like they were because he had a lot of, you know, he just had a lot of pride in the work that he did. So seeing your life's work, quote unquote, seeing something that you really take pride in being stolen will do something to you, especially when you're already going through stuff. So I can't imagine how it must have hurt him, how much it must have traumatized him to be to a point where he couldn't even speak after the robbery. He couldn't even speak. And I'd imagine too the other side of it, which it shouldn't be embarrassing because it's those guys that did the awful thing. He didn't do anything wrong, but I'd imagine a part of him also maybe was a tad embarrassed about it being spread all over social media, because the video went viral super quickly on social. So I can imagine that also wasn't the best outcome as well. So whoever did spread the video out there needs to take a look at themselves as well, because what was the benefit, what was the need of spreading the video with his face, bare face in it? They could have blurred his face to protect his anonymity and give him some semblance of fucking dignity and privacy and shit, but they didn't. And I'm assuming maybe on his side of social, maybe on his feed, maybe in his DMs, he was maybe getting trolled by people taking a piss out of him for getting robbed and shit, which is fucking tragic because he did nothing wrong. It continues. They said that they believe he subsequently took his own life due to the anguish and distress of the terrible incident. Independent Jewelers 247 Kettles described Mr. White as a close friend of more than 20 years who left a long-lasting impact on the watch community as a whole. He's been working there for 20 fucking years. God damn it, bro. More than 20 years, sorry. I guess he'd been associated with that place. Maybe his family shopped there. Maybe it's a family run place and he worked there, whatever. Bloody hell, man. In the statement, it added, both suppliers and customers alike were taken aback by Oliver's vibrant spirit and kind heart, and his loss is felt deeply by all who knew him. The company said Mr. White should never have been left alone in the office on Saturday, and the amount of watches should never have been on display. It said despite having strict security procedures, some procedures were not followed through. No fault of anyone's. Panic buttons, alarms, smoke screens, and security doors are in place. The business claimed the suspect had targeted the shop by posing with potential customers across a 3-day period and were waiting for a vulnerability and a correct time to strike. So they took the piss. So they basically, so that, I guess that also would hurt, right? The fact that they singled him out. They thought he was weak. They thought he was an easy catch. They thought he was somebody that they could easily take advantage of, and they pounced. That could also be something that kind of didn't sit right with him. Fuck, man. R.I.P. Oliver. These are two of the suspects. It says it claimed the false statements circulating in media and social media about the insurance, the value of the stock were in place, was simply untrue. Okay, cool. So that story originally that he got robbed before and the insurance didn't come through isn't true then. I guess that's what they're saying. Unfortunately, Saturday, they attempt to succeed in a violent robbery for which Oliver was a victim of. We would appreciate it if false rumors could be stopped to allow both the friends and family to grieve without additional stress or intrusion. The jeweler said that they will remain temporarily closed to grieve the loss of our friend. But yeah, RIP to Oliver White, man. Didn't deserve to go out that way at all. And yeah, you just never know what people are going through. You never know what people are going through. Life is hard nowadays. Everyone's got their own little struggles. I think we've all, myself included, I've probably, been somebody that does this anyway. We all kind of deal with our things in private, I think, for the most part. But I think COVID basically taught us how to do it by force. if you were somebody that enjoyed crying on camera, you probably got shamed out of it during COVID because people laughed at you like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you crying on camera? Why are you showing an emotion? Why are you displaying a range of emotions that just doesn't include getting hyped all the time? Relax, chill out, that's disgusting, grow up, blah, 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 blah. So with COVID, we all kind of got taught, or we all were forced into a position where we had to learn how to kind of deal with our own pain, our own struggles privately. And I think that has been a blessing and a curse because some people haven't reached out for help. Some people haven't contacted their friends and family, and they've kind of just been dealing with stuff on their own. So you have absolutely no idea, because a lot of us, you know, maybe didn't hang out with our friends during that 3 years of COVID, and then now you're coming out of it, you're trying to catch up for all the time that you wasted, or the money that you didn't make and shit, so you're head down back in there. So, which is an ironic thing, even though we're all kind of working from home, or some of us are, we're all kind of in a much more intense rat race than we were prior, because we're making up for lost time and blah 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 blah. So you can only imagine what people are privately going through, and then to put them through such a traumatic event as a robbery, because, you know, luckily, fingers crossed, you know, touch wood as well, and, you know, in Jesus' name I pray against it, I've never been robbed like in my face. Of course I've been pickpocketed and stuff, everyone has, right? Unfortunately those are holidays in Madrid and shit, in Barcelona, where I'm fucking gallivanting around, going to Primavera and having a good time and smiling and jumping around the place and not knowing that there's someone behind me lifting my fucking wallet. That's obviously hurtful, but I've never been robbed face to face like that ever. And I've heard from people that it is a very traumatic experience, very traumatic. It can really fuck with your head to the point where you don't really function normally again. So I can only imagine what it must be like when it happens to you at work, when it's very expensive merchandise, you know what I mean? It's just, your head just goes all over the place, you know? Especially when you take it seriously, especially when you feel like you're, I don't know, whatever thoughts come in your head. I can't even begin to try to figure it out and shit, because again, I've never been in that position, luckily. But thoughts and feelings and prayers go out to Oliver White and his family. What an absolutely tragic event. They didn't deserve to go through that. He didn't deserve to go through that. And yeah, man, it's just very, 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 very sad all around. Very, very, very sad all around. That's all I can say about that one. That's all I can say about that one. Moving on, we've got this interesting post to talk about regarding this influencer called Chloe Burrows. I thought this post from her was pretty interesting and worthy of kind of covering, because it is a question that I've asked myself. But then when I thought about it for 2 seconds, I was like, hold on, this makes a lot of sense why that's the case. So this influencer said, how do American rappers have so much money, right? She wants to basically know, she's asking a question aloud that a lot of people in the UK have wondered. Why do Americans in general just have so much cash, especially rappers? They seem to just be walking around with fucking piles of cash, stacks and stacks of it. Let's play the video and see what she says.
No, like, I just watched a TikTok of Lil Baby private shopping in Monaco, and he was buying like Birkins and stuff. Why do American rappers have so much money? Like, where do they get the money from? Do you know what I mean? Like, they just have millions, but where does that come from?
I think it's twofold. Obviously, the obvious answer is that America's a far bigger place than the UK. It's just a huge place. It's just a huge place, right? And I'd imagine in America, you could probably get away with being a local act that makes a bunch of money performing at clubs and bars and doing the whole thing that JT done to kind of restart her career and live a very, very comfortable life. Very comfortable. You could just be an act that just tours your state, that just dominates your fucking region, and you could kill it completely. Maybe you do your state and the 2 neighboring states on either side, and that's it, and you could absolutely smoke it. For sure that's the case. And I think the second reason is, I think culturally, especially American rappers, they tend to have this thing where they like to have cash. I'm not too sure if it's because of the banks in America, they don't trust them, whether it's a hood thing, whether it's a black thing, but there's definitely a prevalence of people that love to have jewelry. They love to put their money in jewelry because I guess you can obviously sell the jewelry and get the money back, or they like to withdraw the actual money and have it, because I think in general, we're not really the biggest cash society in the UK or Europe in general. No one really walks around with stacks of cash in their pocket. Even people that have money, usually you're shopping with a credit card, with a debit card, contactless card, whatever you're doing it with, right? But you're rarely carrying around cash, especially in Europe these days. Even places I go to, like Berlin and stuff, you can basically go there and don't need to withdraw any money. You could use your most bank cards, MasterCards, and whatever Visas in those countries and withdraw in a cash point. You don't really need to convert your money like you did in the past. So the need to carry around cash isn't there. And I think culturally, we just don't carry cash around with us like in stacks and shit and do fucking money phones or that malarkey. They love to do that sort of stuff. So I wonder if that's all maybe tied with the distrust of banks in America. Maybe there's something tied in with like hip hop culture in terms of wanting to have the money and being worried that the record label may take your money away from you, so you take it and you put it in a shoebox, because that's kind of how you started when you were trapping or when you were just hustling on the street. You had your money in the shoebox, and cash is always king. If the world ends tomorrow and the bank's closed, you don't have your cash. All this sort of like stuff, you know, there's a definitely something there when it comes to cash. I think there's even a scene in one Drake video where he's got a safe and he puts all his money in the safe somewhere. So I think everyone does it to every level. And again, he's not American, I know he's Canadian, but still, I think on every level, there's definitely a different attitude to having money and holding it in your hands. But I think primarily, like I said before, I think the primary reason is just that America's a big place. It really is a big place, and you can really be very successful just from touring and dominating one state and one region and one area of where you fucking live. Really could do really well, which almost makes you wonder why some American rappers in particular give a fuck about fame. It almost makes you think some people actually care more about fame than money, because if you want money, you could just tour your local region and kill it, performing at bars and clubs, doing walkthroughs, going on radio shows, performing at fucking elementary schools and high schools and, you know, bar mitzvahs, all this sort of stuff, right? Just locally, just crushing it. You're not that famous, but you live a very comfortable life where you make, I don't know, let's say an average of 100 grand a year, just doing that as an artist. Despite, you know, not including anything else you do when it comes to music videos, when it comes to whatever else, brand collaboration, sponsorships, you know, adverts, ad reels, scissor reels, whatever you do, right? Radio drops, that doesn't include it. Collaborations, even features, doesn't include it. You could do well in it, but I think some people, some artists generally care more these days about fame than do money. Like Lil Baby being a good example. Lil Baby's kind of fallen off, right? A little people can attest, even myself, being a big fan of his, has kind of fallen off. He's not the same artist that he once was a few years ago. I think Lil Baby would probably prefer to be as famous as he was, or as well regarded as he was in maybe 2020, 2021, as opposed to actually be wealthy enough where he's not that well known. People don't care for his music, but he makes a lot of money. I think that fame or that buzz that he had when Young Thug and Gunna were out here doing whatever they were doing with fucking Young Life, with Young Stoner Life, the label and shit, and all those records that he was putting out. I bet he'd rather go back to that time and be that person than be the person that he is now, where you're able to kind of, you know, make money on the road, doing features, doing fucking touring, you know, states around the country and shit, and coming to Europe, picking up a bag, going around the world, picking up a bag. He probably prefer to be that level of fame, which is an odd thing, to be fair, because you can't do that in the UK. I don't think so, for the most part. If you really want to grow, you kind of have to try to dominate everywhere else. You can't just be a local London act or a local, like, it's not enough. You need more than that. Obviously, there's the good thing about places like the UK is that you've got a smaller catchment area. So if you do crush it, you are literally, you know, the big fish in a small pond, and you get to fucking be the most famous person in a very small town, but then you don't get the money that the Americans do. But then I guess on the other side, the Americans also have the competition, and you also have the threats to your life, right? Because you could literally lose your life tomorrow. You could be carrying all these banknotes around with you in your pocket, having a good time, and literally someone could come tomorrow, put a pole behind your head, and boom, that money is now theirs. You are now RIP, dancing in fucking heaven with fucking, you know, what's his face, with Michael Jackson and co. So you have to be very, very careful of what you fucking wish for. But I think those probably explain two of the things there. And I think it also applies in workplaces, especially in my area of expertise, which is like marketing and shit. Most people that worked my jobs in marketing in America earn way more than I do. Like, I think just being a marketing executive in America, you could easily earn like 40 to 50k. And in the UK, that particular role, being a marketing executive coordinator, is max 32 grand, maybe 35, depending on where you're at. Sometimes it might even be cheeky and offer you 26,000. So you know, even jobs, these motherfuckers are getting paid way more. But again, we get free healthcare, we get free education to a certain degree. It's way, I guess, safer to live here. But the weather's miserable. The food is, you know, if you don't like foreign food, the food here is a bit questionable. And everything else in terms of fun is a little bit questionable too. There's not as many like leisurely activities to do over here, so you probably pay in some regard. But big up her. I thought that was a very interesting question. Looking ahead, this is a very interesting topic or post that somebody posted on the one and only Techno subreddit that I'm going to read out to you, because I thought this was very interesting. And I've always wondered, actually, what happens if you are this person? If you are this person, how do you actually navigate the techno scene, especially in London or just in general? How do you actually navigate it? How do you find friends? How do you socialize? Because it must be really difficult to do that when you're a young female. It just must be difficult. So this person posted this on the Techno subreddit. I'm going to read out to you, and it says the following. I'm a woman in my mid-20s and I work in tech. I'm usually based in London at the moment, but treat the Netherlands as a second home, as I used to live there for 4 years and frequent very regularly. I'm going this weekend to Amsterdam for 909 Festival in August for Deck Mantle, amongst others. I'm looking to befriend some techno enthusiasts of any gender. I don't mind solo partying, but it can be lonely. Because what do you actually do if you're that person? Because again, I rave solo all the time, and it was mostly based out of convenience, because I just didn't want to be the person texting people to be like, oh, do you want to come to this place? You want to come to this place? And then getting told no, and then their no influencing my mood, and then me saying I don't want to go anymore. You know, like, I think people are fair, or people are in their right to say they don't want to go. But then sometimes when someone says they don't want to go, it can sometimes negatively affect your mood and you don't want to go. So, and also, I hate fucking imposing on people, right? I hate sometimes people, I don't know, maybe it's a London thing, because people are so like uptight about their time and so fucking nervous and shit. Maybe sometimes whenever you offer somebody a plan or you offer them a suggestion to do something, it can sometimes feel like you are, I wouldn't say demanding, but it almost feels like you're putting them in a position where they can't say no. I feel like people sometimes feel like that. So I don't like to ask people about those type of things, because I feel like it's a little bit, you know, it's not my place. Anyway, and also, to be fair anyway, I'm also a bit of a psycho. I actually enjoy raving on my own. I'm actually one of those weirdos that actually enjoys, you know, doing the pre-drinking, pre-gaming, and all that shit on my own, listening to my tunes, walking to the fucking bus stop, jumping in the Uber, I'll enjoy all that stuff by myself, like just enjoying the size, being in the queue and fucking around by myself. Like, I enjoy all of it. I don't really mind it. But I'd imagine, especially for a young woman in her mid-20s, it can be tough to be on your own in a club. And sometimes if you're on your own in a club, depending on what club you go to, you could be a bit of a victim, you could be a bit of a target. So you also have to be careful not to signal that you're on your own too much. But then you also want to be open. You also want to be open that you are, because you want people to be open to talk to you, because you want to make friends. Because where else would you make friends? Like, if you're into techno, you're into clubbing, where else are you meant to go to make friends? Of course you should go to a fucking nightclub. That's the whole point of clubs existing. Go to make friends. Anyway, she continues. I'm not looking for any friends who I love this, by the way, right? A person with no friends being picky about the kind of friends they want, right? That is typical. Like, this person's not even from London, and they're already fucking absorbing and embracing the fucking London DNA. Being a fucking picky beggar. You have no friends and you're being picky about what type of friend you want. I love it. I'm not looking for any friends who enjoy the new type of TikTok rave techno or EDM. I'm also not looking for friends who can only enjoy techno and drugs. I live and breathe this music, and I'm always listening to sets during the week, at work, commuting or exercising. I live techno for about 7 years now. I'm not going anywhere. I miss the days of industrial techno unpolished too. I'm looking again, like, sometimes you wonder, I think we know why you don't have any friends, love. You sound like a bit of a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie. You sound like a pain in the ass. But I also understand that if you are looking for friends online, you probably should be clear about your intentions, or you should be clear about your wants and needs. There's no point in just saying, oh, I want any friend. And then your friend comes through and they're like, oh, my favorite artist is Sara Landry. And you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to get on your nerves. So I get it, but fucking hell. Some of my favorite techno producers and DJs at the moment are Dax J, Unwelt, DVS1, Freddie K, D Dan, Farah, Stranger. These are all very obvious and bait names, though, to be fair, though, isn't it? Like, no one's gonna argue with you. Maybe Dax J, I might argue with you because I think he's kind of overrated, but overall, these are kind of the ones that everybody likes. So on one aspect, don't be a TikTok rave techno fan or EDM fan. That's too bait, that's too obvious, that's too commercial, that's too lame. But then you've also gone for the easy options that everybody knows and likes and respects. You're not really challenging yourself or your potential friends and really testing their musical knowledge by saying you like Fred, because who's going to say they don't like Freddie K? I said I don't like him and I think he's a bit overrated, but people kind of went in my comments and was attacking me. Oh, you're not a real techno fan, you haven't seen him play for 12 hours in Bergen. So fuck off. I've seen enough to think, you know, it's not what you guys think it is, but in general I think it's fucking hilarious. I could possibly list a dozen more though. I really like percussion heavy tracks. I'm also a massive into industrial and hardcore sounds like KRTM, The Outside Agency, Somniac One, Hellfish, Dolphin, PRSP. She's really getting off on listing all these things, isn't it? Was an insane event in Rotterdam. Also new to hardstyle if you like that. Wink face. Going out in London, I mostly like Fold and event. Again, all the bait in obvious places. This feels like this feels like it's going to be a catfish, by the way. I don't know. Whoever responds to this, you got to be careful. Going out to London, I mostly like Fold and Venue MOT. The best event I've been to was Mononon Black 24-hour party in Fold. It's all the big ones like Radion, Discord, RIP though, Decmanto, and all the other Reactor unpolished events. Rather Lost. I also have been to Berghain and RSO a few times. I love them a lot, so I hope to be back soon. Hopefully someone here can join me at the above locations for some parties. If you think you might connect well, send me a message about who you are, your favorite artist. Hopefully this post isn't embarrassing. I made 2 of my closest friends from Reddit, so I guess it works for something. So this is a question that needs to be had, in it. How do you make friends in techno? How do you make friends in the rave scene? And I don't know. I think if you're a young woman, based on the accounts I've read recently, that Kamal Williams post from RA, the feature article about him allegedly diddling loads of people and being an abuser and maybe being an outright fucking rapist, right? According to some of the accounts that people shared there allegedly. I think you have to be very careful. You have to move with a lot of caution. You can't give people the benefit of the doubt. In my personal opinion, I think if I had a sister, I would definitely say that you can't give anybody in nightlife the benefit of the doubt. Doesn't matter how nice they appear, how cool they might be. You cannot give anybody the benefit of the doubt. You have to have the suspicion that everybody's a creep, that everybody's a monster, that everybody can take advantage of you, and then move accordingly based on their actions. Not just off, oh, I just feel like he's nice. No. Let that person act first, and then you respond based on how they act. If they act like a cunt, break them off instantly. If they give you the ick and a red flag, cut them off instantly and never don't look back. Even if they turn out to be a nice person, it is what it is. You took an L on that one and keep it moving. You can't take any risk, because being under the influence of alcohol and drugs, and then put yourself in a position to be in contact or in the environment of people that you don't know, and then having it pan out really negatively, is sometimes fatal, and you can't come back from it. So you're better off being a bitch than you are better off being dead. All right, you're better off being a bitch than you are being dead. So be a bitch, be regarded as rude and whatever it may be, but at least you're not dead. That's the one thing. And I think secondly, if you're a girl, you probably have way more luck making friends IRL than you would do like this. Personally, I feel like there's more of a luck that way. If that makes any sense, you have way more luck doing that. Actually go to events and meet people IRL. And it's not hard, man. It really isn't. Like, I legitimately, when I was first going out and I was trying to make friends, before I realized I enjoyed my own company, I would legitimately go and buy menthol cigarettes and just like stand in the smoking area pretending to smoke and be like hanging out and like jumping into conversations like a fucking loser. Like, oh my god, I like your hair. Oh, I like your belt. Oh, do you came in to see? And then just get talking. And sometimes, you'd strike out and people tell you to fuck off. And then sometimes you'll make some friends and you had them on Instagram. You might see them another time and shit, which is what I prefer personally. I think sometimes always going for the fucking social media ad can sometimes ruin the flow and the organic kind of nice, cool nature of a first interaction. So sometimes just letting the interaction be what it is in the moment, and then be like, oh yeah, shit, I'm going to be here at Unfold next week, or I'm going to be at this event, whatever. Then seeing them at that event is way better for your actual relationship than going for the fucking, you know, number or the fucking social media handle, whatever it may be. But that's actually a better way, because I think people will be more receptive to girls than they will be to boys, especially a guy that looks like me. Do you know what I mean? It'd make more sense. I think you're better off doing that regard. Another really sly thing to do, which is a bit risky as well, depending on the groups that you join. But there's quite a few groups on like WhatsApp, on like Telegram that you could join. And sometimes some of these groups have like a women's only kind of subgroup. So they have like a major group, and then they have like again, you just got to do your Googles, maybe search around the subreddits and stuff, and you'll find them. But sometimes they do have a women's only kind of group. And sometimes another thing that you could do, again, for women, I think it's easy and you won't be seen as being creepy. You could just join a group, and then if you see some girls on there that talk or kind of like have the same sort of interest that you have, just DM them on the side, say hey, and just give them a little blurb. Hey, I'm this girl, I'm 20, I mean, I want to hang out and shit, blah 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 blah. And then that might be a good way to kind of get into another circle of people, or maybe there's an invite only group that they might get you in touch with. All those things are really necessary. But I think sometimes putting out these kind of like bat signals online on a big bait subreddit somewhere can sometimes invite the wrong type of energy, you know what I mean, or the wrong type of people your way. And I think sometimes as well, the beauty of community like this, like rave thing, is that it happens at the rave itself. It doesn't really happen online like this. I think a lot of the best ones for me personally are the ones I cultivated in real life, and then it kind of spilled out into the fucking groups and shit. I think that's the best way to do it. When it goes the other way, it can kind of be a bit fucked up. So that might be the best way to kind of do it. But I think IRL, I would go for IRL over anything. But it does represent, this post does represent a example of how difficult it is for people to just make friends in general. Even when you've got an interest that is hyper specific, right? An interest like techno or clubbing is like hyper specific. It's like a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche. You'd think everybody's but it's not. It's really hard to kind of infiltrate and to get in, because, you know, it just is. But then it's even harder, especially places like London, where everyone's very cliquey. They don't really open up their social groups. And the weird thing about London, I think, like most places that are really hard to get into, is that once you do get into one group, all of the groups open up. Everyone's really nice, but it's just hard to kind of get past that first barrier, that first door. Everyone's just kind of being a bitch and being rude and being kind of cunty. It's hard to kind of knock it down, but once you do knock it down, everyone's fucking fine. So you know, keep your head up, whoever that person is. And I think for all women out there, I think you should be very careful about, you know, how you navigate the landscape. But I think the best thing possible is to go in real life events, befriend people in smoking areas, maybe go really early too. That might be another tip as well. Maybe go really early when the place actually opens. Don't go when it's full, go when it's really early. And then usually a lot of the people, you know, I guess some of the people that go solo will come really early or come really late. Sometimes really go really early and see if you can kind of befriend people, hey, waiting around the toilets, waiting around the bars, on the dance floor, and then kind of go that way. That might be another one as well. But yeah, take it as it comes, take it as it comes. But whatever you do, don't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. That's what I say. That's what I say. Another post here, we got one regarding the one and only Sara Landry.
Would you feel better if I said that the touch could last forever? Every moment I'm with you feels like heaven. If I said this is love, would you feel better? Better. Would you feel better if I said that the touch could last forever? Every moment I'm with you feels like heaven. If I said this is love, would you feel better?
I've made my post, or I've made my fucking feelings about Sara Landry very clear. I've seen some sets of hers online and I fucking hated them. I thought the music was pretty awful. But one thing that was very, very clear to me, at least anyway, watching some of her sets online, especially judging by the comments I received when I clipped the actual clip itself, she seems like a really nice person. I don't know how you can judge that based on the DJ set, but she has a very positive, nice vibe about her. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's what feeling I kind of get when I see Sara Landry DJing behind a booth. There's definitely something about her that people tend to kind of gravitate and warm to. Now it could be her looks, because of how she looks, right? It could be because she looks the way that she does and people think that she's attractive and think she's hot, but I don't think that's the case. The comments I was getting back from guys didn't feel like they were just thirsting over her and wanted to fuck her or anything. It felt like they were actual real legitimate fans of this woman. And I think that's part of the success and part of the hardest part, well, probably one of the hardest things about being a female DJ, especially an attractive one. Like, how do you cultivate that fan base within a very heteronormative, very male dominated dance music scene without giving the illusion that anyone can touch you and shit, and, you know, being overly flirtatious and sexual, whatever, while also not dismissing the fact that you look the way that you do. And I think maybe part of it comes from the music. Maybe just the music just resonates with people, and people just actually fuck with the music super hard. And that's where, you know, people kind of lay with it. But I find her phenomenon to be very, very interesting, and why people kind of tend to kind of gravitate and kind of like her, because I think this post on Reddit really spoke to it. This says here, a second date of her LA performance was added earlier today, and it sold out within minutes. It generally boggles my mind how popular she's become, and I'm curious to know what the opinions are about her. So let's read some of the opinions. And again, I only found out today, based on research on this fucking topic, that she's actually American. I thought she was European, I'm not gonna lie, because she seems to sell out a bunch of European dates. But the fact that she's American, but also seems to have a European aesthetic, if that makes any sense. I don't know if European aesthetic means she wears all black, but she doesn't seem American, might help, you know. She's not over, because I think some of the American DJs, especially ones within this sort of field, maybe struggle because they come across a bit cringe, they come across a bit too much try hard. But for whatever reason, this girl doesn't come across like that. She comes across very, like, I would say like underground adjacent, but you know what I mean. It doesn't, there's something there, very clever. Maybe it's the marketing, maybe it's just the work, maybe it's just the music, maybe it's the vibe, who knows. But I'm curious to see what some of these people say on the Reddit regardless. What they're saying here, someone said here, I'm not a fan of the whole rockstar DJ thing where image is super important, but I'm glad people around here can speak positively about her. So another person here says, I have heard she is very sweet and down to earth, and she commands quite the following when it comes to her crowds. Obviously a hard worker and loves seeing a female DJ take off. Just also super fascinated by her 2-year glow up. If you knew her even just a few weeks ago or look at older pics, she looks totally different. Hell, but whatever. Slay, what, really? So what? Has she changed her look completely? Did she? I like that, by the way. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of like starting out one way and then figuring out that this whole, like, you know, techno goddess princess, you know, onesie jumpsuit wearing thing is doing well for you with the mascara, and then just leaning into it. I think that's a good idea. I think that's what you should be doing as an artist. You should be kind of adapting and kind of, you know, evolving based on the inputs that you're getting from your fans or from the scene in general. So let's see what she actually looked like. Is it all the pictures of her? Because I want to see, what was she wearing before? Was she looking like, who's that woman? What's that word called? Is it Alice in Wonderland or whatever her name is? Was she walking around wearing like buffalo creeper boots and shit, and like, you know, purple jumpers, and then suddenly she wore all black and put a bit of smoky mascara on, and everyone went fucking crazy. And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with this. I like the I'm not gonna lie, I do like the fucking continuality. I do like the commitment to all black, even on the beach. Black fucking black bikini. I fucking love that, by the way. That's fucking impressive. Let's actually see. I want to see if there's actually a post here that shows what she looked like a few years ago, because that might give us an indication as to how this started. Because so far I'm just seeing all black. Again, very good commitment to the color black. I have to also give her props to that one. Loads of all black here. Black again, fucking hell, all fucking black. Loads of lips, loads of duck lips, loads of sultry bend over and exposing of the fucking cleavage and shit, which again, do what you have to do, use what God has blessed you to get those fucking bookings. Who gives a fuck? But I'm not seeing any change in style, really. I think this person was gassing. Yeah, no, that's okay. She probably deleted them because she's a smart fucking girl and she's, you know, doing well. But whatever pictures that did exist of her prior to the all black glow up do not exist. They are gone. They've been purged from her Instagram. So big up her team for doing that. Very, very smart. I think her glow up makes sense. If you're in the entertainment industry and you start gaining success plus more income, you're going to be able to start caring about your image. Also want to know how much more attention she gets compared to 4 years ago. Again, could you imagine also, right? someone like this she's like the anti Peggy Goo, innit? Because Peggy Goo is really successful, but by all accounts, especially based on the accounts that I've kind of, you know, talked about on this podcast, she doesn't strike me as the nicest person IRL. Again, not her fault, it is what it is, but this is like the opposite. So it basically goes to show you, within dance music or within any type of creative field, as long as your work is good, people will put up with you if you're a nice person or if you're a horrible person. It doesn't really matter, really. As long as you know, Peggy is a good DJ, she does great productions, so people put up with it, even though she might not be the warmest, she might not be the nicest to her assistants and shit, or fellow DJs, if you listen to certain people out there in the fucking field. Another person says, the older artists used to receive the same amount of spotlight and enthusiasm, but time and styles move on. Landry fits the current style, and someone who's been in the scene and industry since the 90s, I'm enjoying the new energy around. Okay, cool. So this person likes her, but based on new energy. Don't like her sets, but good for her, man. She's riding the current trend hot and getting that bag. So again, why do some people like this girl and not somebody else? Why does she get all this good? She must be a nice person. Why does she get all this goodwill from people? And people like SPF DJ, people like VTSS, people like even my girl fucking Sarah King, they don't get this type of level of grace from people. But she seems to get all of this. I've seen her sets 2 to 3 times. I just like what she does. I've also heard that she's a very sociable and likable person. Again, this is the thing, being likable, and people really underestimate this, because I guess if you're a cunt and you're still successful, why would you try to be nice? But this is honestly such an easy cheat code. If you're just nice to people, if you're just a little bit smiley, because she seems like a very smiley person, I think that might help, right? She doesn't look like she's got like she doesn't look like she's permanently sucking on a lemon like SPF DJ or something, right? So that obviously helps. But I think just having a smile deposition around you, she probably doesn't meet all these people, right? This post of her standing on a DJ deck, she doesn't probably know any of these people's names or faces, but just the ability to stand on the decks, communicate to your fans, spread love and awareness, get your hands out, smile like you're having a great time of your life, like you'd be there for free. Oh my god, I love you guys. Just that goes so far. But some motherfuckers out there don't want to do that. They don't even want to, you know, you bump into them at Panorama Bar and they fucking give you the fuck off eyes. You know what I mean? Some motherfuckers out there don't want to do any of that shit. So I find that quite fascinating, because look at how much it benefits you if you just the slightest bit nice. You know, people really ride for you online, like, actually. And I think a lot of these people in this thread are probably dudes. That's the other thing too. She's got a lot of like hardcore dude fans. They leave me comments all the time whenever I talk about her, so clearly she's doing a good job. I like her style, but the pop edits don't do it for me at all. I love the pop edit, but sometimes they don't just work, like the MIA one, but she plays an up-and-coming remix, like the kicks and this energy, and so just a harder hitting track, but the acapellas are more light-hearted. Okay, I also find so the edits are meant to be the big thing now that everyone's doing nowadays, taking really bait pop tracks. Again, I don't know what her MIA ones, maybe it's fucking Aeroplanes or whatever, or Paper Planes, whatever that song is by MIA. They'll take a very popular pop edit and just, you know, give it a fucking EDM / techno / hardstyle / trancey fucking edit, speed it up a bit, add some fucking crazy, you know, breakdown, boom, Bob's your uncle, Granny's your aunt. And that usually kind of helps to kind of propel them, give you some good TikTok views and shit, and get your Instagram reel numbers up. So I'm interested to see people saying that they don't actually like the edits. They actually like her for her DJing and production, which is interesting. So big up her. I also find the edits unappealing. I've seen her 3 times, going on the 4th time later this year at the festival. 2nd time was after that followed the festival that she played at. That was fun, but to be honest, I preferred her opener Volvox. Yeah, Volvox is fucking very hard, very underrated as well. I won't say underrated, but very overlooked, let's say. Most recent time the audience was heavily Gen Z plus Gen Alpha. What's a Gen Alpha? What the fuck is Gen Alpha? Is that Gen Alpha male? What the fuck is it? I've never heard of Gen Alpha. What the fuck is Gen Alpha? Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is a name given to a generation of people who are, I had no idea. Born between the years of 2010 and 2024. Gen Alpha is the first generation to become. There's people going to raves now that are born in 2010 that are going to fucking techno raves. Yeah, I don't have any business being in some of these clubs, in it. There's people born in 2010 in fucking techno raves. I'm standing next to people born in 2010. Some fucking white girl's fucking flat ass is gyrating against my leg, and she's born in 2010. I should be thrown in prison, mate. I should be locked up. Let's continue. The fourth graders of Gen Alpha are definitely not head bobbing with me to Sara Landry. Another person says here, it feels poppy because it's taken from mainstream pop culture and it builds a connection to the more mainstream normie crowds. Ah, that's true. I never thought about it that way. Pop edits being a good way to get to become like a normie conventional, like, who's that girl, that really big girl, the Asian girl, I think her name is Jyoti. She's kind of a similar sort of thing, right? She's got a very normie kind of like pop general kind of audience. I won't say pop, but like mainstream audience, but she also plays a lot of like quote unquote underground places as well, you'd imagine. So maybe those pop edits kind of help. This scratches at the itch for people who like to hear top 40 at the clubs and harkens back to the days where the most popular EDM, like progressive house, dubstep, trap, was remixes of popular songs. Avicii, SHM and stuff, but it's cheap thrill because it really doesn't add to the cohesion of the set. It's just reaching for an easy reference that people will understand to get a rise out of the audience for low effort, but it works on a broader appeal basis, and for a lot of people, not those who are really deeply into techno minded, that enhances their enjoyment of the set. So it's valid, but if they enjoy it, it's just that they don't really listen to fucking pop music, so I don't appreciate when they dilute my pursuit of deeper progressive evolution. That's the thing that's very interesting, that I wonder if there's actually more normie people listening to this type of music anyway than people like myself, or people like who want like, you know, deeper, you know, I think there's more normies. I think there's more mainstream, like that's the thing. Like, I don't actually think the heads go to like the things that they go to, which are the kind of ones that don't get advertised in places. You have to know, invite only, blah blah blah. I think most events are populated by mainstream people, and I think actually the people that actually keep the scene afloat, weirdly enough, might be those mainstream people. That carousel of mainstream people that get into dance music every other year or so might be the ones that actually are the ones that keep the lights on. You know, in a weird way. It doesn't really sound like it makes sense, but if you think about it, it kind of does. I won't elaborate because, you know, I'm too smart. Let's continue here. Some person else says, that was a thread here a couple months ago, someone who made a portrait of her. A lot of people were bashing Sarah's music and portrait. Surprisingly, she went in the comments herself to defend the guy. Her music isn't quite my cup of tea, but I always appreciate her as a person for that. What? Someone made a portrait of her. Okay, cool. So she jumped into the comments of this thread that someone made did someone make a drawing of her? I don't, let's see, what does the drawing look like of her? Is it horrendous? What do we see here? Oof. 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 I don't know. I'd kind of be offended if I saw that. If I was her, I'd kind of be offended. Holy shit. My painting of the high priestess, Miss like, what? Why'd you make her look like Michael Jackson, bro? Why going for that? Why you make her look like white MJ? But bless her for getting in the comments and defending the lad. That's actually quite nice. Where does it say that? Does she actually defend the lad? Where is it? Oh, there he is. There she is. Definitely. There she is. Wow. Big up her, man. See, this is why she's a fucking legend. Touring DJ, million fucking gigs all over the place, and look at her leaving fucking comments in the fucking Reddit. Greetings, incels. Wow, this sub is being misogynistic and toxic again. What a surprise. It's so sad to watch this sub keep choosing to descend to this level. It used to be different a few years ago. Your hateful attitudes are poisoning the scene, and for what? Maybe if y'all invested a fraction of the time you spend whining on here into learning to produce or DJ yourselves, you'd be able to actually contribute to the genre positively instead of just spewing toxicity and ruining the vibe. Yo, I think I like her too now, man. I love this attitude. She's fucking bringing the smoke. I love this. Big up her. To anyone who doesn't like me, cool. I don't care. And what I'm doing is not for you. That's fine. Keep it to yourself. Unfollow me. Stop obsessing over me online. Don't bring those vibes to my parties. If you hate me, I don't want you in my crowd. I like this. I'm not gonna lie. I like this energy. I like this energy, bro. I see why guys fucking ride for her, man. She's one of the mandem, innit? Take your money and go support your local scene you connect to. There's so much amazing techno out there and something for everyone, but this negativity you're intent on spreading overwhelmingly towards women is really sad and ugly behavior, and I hope you all can choose to grow as people and rise above it. To be fair, I don't think it's always towards women. I think because there's less women doing it and they get some abuse, it looks like it. But I think anybody that people deem to be like an overnight success gets it, to be fair. I don't think only women get it. I think plenty of dudes in techno also get loads of hate from their fans or from people of observing, because they feel like that person's an overnight success, which is never the case, right? No one's ever an overnight success. You've obviously been working way hard before anybody's actually seen you. But anyway, it continues. I'm glad you enjoyed the ballroom set and I inspired you creatively. That is such a special thing. Painting is so hard. I want to start myself. I keep at it. Don't let up. I like how she never said send me the painting, by the way. I like Sara Landry. She's a real girl. She never said DM me and send me the painting. She never said that. She just said keep at it. Keep at it. Let the opinions of miserable losers stop you from learning and growing the medium you enjoy. Sending love and blessing to you, especially those who hate me, since you all need it the most. Nah, big up Sara Landry. I see why people like her. That's a top girl. That's a fucking motherfucking top girl. Let me upvote that one. That is a top fucking girl there. Bloody hell, mate. That is so hilarious. But to be fair, the painting is terrible. Let's just, let's call a spade a spade. The painting's fucking terrible. But yeah, she seems like a fucking legend. And then last thing, or I move on. I love her, but I've been a fan since she was playing not sold out shows for $5. Around the time Techno subs were saying she was amazing, and it was cool to see an American bringing the European hard sounds here. But now she's so popular, she gets the Charlotte Amelie treatment where they claim she's only pretty. Nah, that's a thing though. That is a thing. I think she actually getting the opposite. I think she's actually way more human and seems way more normal and well adjusted than Charlotte DeWitt or Amelie Lenz. Because Amelie Lenz is like, she's in, bless her heart, but she's in cuckoo town, isn't it? She doesn't exist on the same plane that we do. And Charlotte DeWitt seems like she's in a permanent ket haze, which again, no problem, but it is what it is. At least with this lady, she actually seems like she's somewhat present, If you bumped into her at Tesco's, you'd get a bit of a conversation out of her, right? It's not just like, all dudes, then fucking double soul Dr. Martens. There's a bit of a sparkle behind the eye. There's something there. I'm alive. But actually, she's actually meant to be touring the UK soon, and I'm actually going to see her at this Boiler Room event in August. So I'm curious to see what she's like, because I was meant to see her in Manchester one time, but I'm actually going to be able to see her at this Boiler Room event in August, I think. Where is it? It's August. There we go. London Boiler Room event in August the 25th. I'm really curious to see what that's like. Again, maybe not the best. Maybe no, it is the best way to see it, because all she plays is fucking festivals, right? So I'm curious to see what she's actually like IRL. What is Sara Landry like actually IRL? I'm really curious to see, and I'm going to get to see it at this Boiler Room event here on the 25th of August. That should be fucking fire. That's coming up. The lineup is absolutely stacked as well, with all your regular people that you see online, especially TikTok flavor type of people. Actually curious to see MCDE, Daniel Pleslow, who used to be called Motor City Drum Ensemble, but I remember that was really funny. He got cancelled during the whole like cancel culture thing. I think this was like post George Floyd. Anybody with like a black DJ sounding name got cancelled, and I guess Motor City Drum Ensemble was a name that was taken from, I guess, like Detroit, and because Detroit is a home of techno, Detroit being black people assumed that he was basically trying to cosplay as like a black dude, when that isn't the case. He's a very, very white guy with a hat that makes house music, but he had to change his name and abbreviate it to MCDE, and now he goes by his actual real name, Daniel Pleslow, which is fucking hilarious. I think that's all fucking super, super funny. We got Flow Down, a guy from London that won a Grammy, or from the same borough that I'm from, that won a Grammy, so I'm curious to see what he's gonna be like over there. Too many people here actually that I want to see. Mr. Scruff, I'd like to go see. Optimo, of course, is gonna be good. Pull the Tape, I'd like to see. So Landry, obviously. Screaming Benga, I've got zero interest in seeing them play. Absolutely zero. Don't give a fuck what they do, to be fair. I think that time has been and gone. I'd rather they just kind of let the great memories be the great memories, personally. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to make the money. And there's got as well Teletech performing as well. I think that might be I forgot who that kid is. Charlie Sparks, somebody else is their resident. That might be who's playing there, and a few other people too. But it looks like a really fun event. Festival happening August 25th. Be a good chance to see what this Sara Landry hype is all about. curious to see what it's all about. Hopefully no one brings this painting to the rave. Hopefully no one brings this painting. Hopefully no one brings this painting to the rave. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they don't. Moving on. We got this topic here, courtesy of GQ, regarding a very interesting post on Private Members Club. And I haven't read this post itself, this article, but I would just like to comment before I do that there was a period during COVID, or maybe post-COVID actually, where I was seriously considering becoming a member of a Private Members Club. Mostly because I was trying to look for a place where I could just have a drink and have a boogie that didn't close super early, and that also had a pretty good, you know, like musical directional shit. Because I feel like sometimes whenever you go to lounge bars or, you know, Private Members Clubs, sometimes there's usually an interesting band playing. There might be completely different music than what you're like listening to in a bar, like jazz or whatever else playing. And people just take a few more chances. And I just would like to go to a place where maybe I know I'm going to listen to every Friday when I go there, because there's a resident DJ that plays at these members clubs, or it's going to be something that might challenge my palate. And I'm always for that as well. And the experience is a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more, you know, refined and shit. It felt like a good excuse to go somewhere instead of going to a regular club. But I felt like, but according to this article, it seemed that everybody else had the same opinion or same feeling. I guess I wasn't the only one that felt this way. But I just couldn't bring myself to paying, like, you know, a certain amount a month to fucking go to have the privilege of being able to enter into a bar and be treated like some celebrity when I'm not. It's fucking ridiculous. But anyway, let's see what this article says. A coach of GQ. Why members only clubs are everywhere right now. It says, before I begin this story, I must disclose that much of what is written within the lacquered mahogany walls of the Casa Cipriani, New York, the 115-old ferry terminal turned members club next to where the Staten Island ferry comes into Manhattan. My spot was a corner couch in the front of a crackling fireplace, not because the club was a subject of this story, but because I'm a member there and I like to watch the buzzing traffic of private helicopters and boats on the harbor. I will tell you about the characters I see at the Jazz Cafe on a Thursday night. I swear sometimes it's full of Scorsese fever dream, but I can't, because writing about the club's members along with the baseball hats and the photography is not permitted, which I kind of like, by the way, right? I think there's really a lack of places that you go where you're meant to enjoy the experience when you're there and not try to document it, you know, and record it and fucking catalog it and write about it. And I like that Private Members Clubs do that, because you don't really get that sort of experience anywhere else. So big up Private Members Club for at least forcing people, right, to actually behave and enjoy where they're at. I'm not alone in warming up to the members club experience. Since the waning of the pandemic, private members clubs have proliferated in New York City. It's not the new phenomenon in major urban areas around the world, but it's the crest of the whole new wave of options in a city that has regarded club membership as a significant for cool and quite some time. Good for a Christmas party or a cocktail with your dad's friends, sure, but not cool even as a nouveau members only club like Soho House thrived with the events in London. Now though, Soho Klaus's cachet is back up with 3 locations in the city, and a pay-for-play social life is having its day. There are startup clubs, eating clubs, working clubs, office clubs that have become dance clubs, old blue clubs, and looking for new life, etc, etc. What happened? There was a long time where I was also kind of dreaming of becoming a Soho House club member. This was back when Shoreditch House first opened and shit, and that was kind of the place to be. And to be fair, I've been there for, like, you know, when I used to work for different companies, and you'd have like lunches there and shit and dinners and whatever, and sometimes end of year celebrations, and it was kind of nice. You kind of understood why people paid for it. Again, you wouldn't pay for it yourself, but you kind of got why people did. You'd be welcomed at the fucking reception. The waiters and whatever porters and whoever was walking around would be very familiar and very warm with you. Everybody would kind of be doting over you, and if you looked like you were itching for a drink and just looking 2 or 3 seconds, especially in Shoreditch House, like you just turn your head 2 or 3 times and somebody's instantly coming up to you. Would you like a drink, sir? Like, anything I can help with? Do you know what I mean? They're super attentive, and that sort of service, that sort of level of attention, you know, especially in a place like London where people are already, borderline fucking closeted alcoholics anyway. It just encourages you to kind of get leery, get happy, and drink, and put your card behind the till and just go crazy until your card doesn't tap anymore. You know what I mean? First, obviously, the pandemic. Office life went away, restaurants and bar closed, and I don't need to explain the pandemic to you, but the long tail effect of New York was not the hollowing out of Manhattan as some predicted, but rather some real memory loss of how to hang organically with friends. Into the breach stepped a slew of new clubs. As I started to get a taste of these clubs, the VC backed and university backed and bright right backed, I started to realize that many new young members weren't joining to connect with other new shared values, but just to connect, period. It was easy in the throes of COVID to imagine that the absolute last thing that would ever return to New York City was a club where people would congregate, and yet here I am by the new money fireplace. Now, I agree with this in part. People were kind of just looking for a place to go to because everything was shut post-COVID, and that was the first things maybe to open in a kind of private members club, because they could kind of control the numbers, they could make it socially, they could engineer social distancing and make it somewhat safe. But I just wanted somewhere, for me personally, music-wise, I wanted somewhere that I could kind of rely on. I just felt like clubs were just too random in terms of their music and vibe. Like, I wanted somewhere that I could go that wasn't a cocktail bar and that wasn't a nightclub, somewhere in between. Cocktail bars are just full of randoms, and clubs are just, you have to pay a crazy entry price to get in, and then you might be fucked when you get there and you realize you don't like the music. So I wanted something in between. I think the in between vibe would be a private members club where it'd have a really good musical programming or whatever it may be, and then they'd also have a really good drink selection. It'd also be a nice ambiance. There'd be cool looking people in there, so you'd feel kind of chill. I mean, you kind of hang out. There'd be couches there. There'd be a little dance, or if you went to fucking twerk. But all in all, you could kind of do what you kind of wanted. Another big reason people are joining, it seems, is that in 2024 it's harder than ever to keep a secret in New York. If there's an off-menu order that only regulars know about, some food writer is bound to divulge it for a paid subscriber on Substack. Good luck having an affair without showing up in the background of your girlfriend's favorite influencer story. And if you think you can go to a party at your buddy's place without Find My Friends blowing the location, think again. Which leaves you with two options: take all your meetings in the back of a yellow cab, or join the photo-free club. In other words, many people seem willing to go despite desperate lengths to retain that hush of privacy. And this is something that I think doesn't get spoken about enough. This is why places like, is it Delilah's in I think it's Delilah's in Hollywood, in LA. I forgot who owns the brand of those hotels or those bars that all celebrities go to, but there's a lot of those places where you're not allowed to take pictures and shit, so people can literally go in there and eat to their heart's content, be slurping on fucking spaghetti and shit and going crazy, doing bumps on the table, whatever else they're doing, without the threat or the risk of somebody snapping a picture of them and sending them somewhere. And you're also not allowed to talk about it, so you kind of have that level of anonymity attached to it too. But this is a very European thing. I feel like this is a very European thing, especially in clubs here. We have a lot of that kind of like, hey, tape up your phone. Berghain being a good example, Fold in London being a good example as well, and a few other places where they cover your phone camera, so it kind of forces you by default to be more present and to not fucking go for the picture and try and document it with your shitty fucking flash on all the time, which is great. Oh, look at that! There's a private members club with an Andy Warhol painting in the back. That's incredible. At ZZ's, there's an original Andy Warhol seafood flown in daily from Tokyo, and an ornately decorated rooms described as the exhibition as the Medici opulence. There's a place. What the fuck is ZZ's? That looks incredible. They've got a fucking original Warhol in the fucking entrance as you come in. That looks incredibly cool. Wow, look at that place. Yeah, that's a private members club that I want to be at. That looks really nice. It looks kind of white, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these private members clubs look like, if you don't walk in there with fucking boat shoes and white socks, or like loafers and no socks, you might get a bit of a dirty look if you go in there with a couple of chains and some grills on. They look very white and very uptight, but always, by the way, very white, but always have black security guards. I always find that fucking hilarious. But yeah, it looks really cool. I like that. I like ZZ's. Big up ZZ's. It continues. Let's go back to the article. Members clubs, golf clubs, and universities are nothing new for the middle-aged New Yorkers with cash to spend. There's a new, what's new is the idea that private members club, as opposed to Carrie Bradshaw approved velvet ropes, are places for people who are under 40, single, and possibly not even New Yorkers to spend their Friday nights. Exactly. We have a few of them here in London too, where they open up on a weekend for people to come in. You still have to kind of get in via the bouncer has to let you in, but yeah. It's like the Cadillac salesman says to Don Draper and Mad Men, this is the car that shows everyone you've arrived. Maybe some of the prospective members haven't entirely arrived yet. After all, a few grand a year in membership fees is less than a Rolex, less than a Cadillac. As these clubs new and renewing cast their nets wider for members, will they catch what they're looking for, and will the prospective members find sex, connection, and community? This winter and spring I visited the members clubs that I could, and I learned of swimming naked with the boss, pre-shooting guns, and $200,000 initiation fees. No, I'm sorry, there's no members club I want to go to that requires me. Like, what? Private clubs are weird, it turns out, but the rooms where photos were banned were often the most fun to look at, and beyond the many locked doors and many velvet curtains was the answer to whether the club life is a fad and confined to those strange periods of city. The burger was pretty good. Let's continue here. You got some more pictures of people here in New York clubs, the survivor, the early. Look at these ladies, man, they all look fucking very well put together. Let's actually read some quotes here. The funny thing about the racket and tennis club that a friend told me is that you have to wear a tie at the front door, but you have to swim in a nude. The funny thing to me about the all-male racket tennis club, which was only, as my sources said, the hardest door to get into, is how many people have seen their bosses naked. I learned more about the doubles club of the Fifth Avenue near the park, which apparently still serves mayo salads and gelatine towers that look straight out of the 70s. I'm told still must be handwritten. I learned that the Links Club, which is apparently exactly what it sounds like, old guys talking about golf. They're old school, but they're survivors. Imagine going to a private members club where you have to swim naked if you want to get into a swimming pool. Yo, that's some like freaky white people shit, innit? That is some freaky white people shit. Next up, Core. New York described by the Times as New Age in 2005, though it belongs in the present century. Core lives beside Soho House as a sort of in-between era of New York City's clubdom. The Gen X's of NYC clubs emerging well before the current wave, but enduring through the 2008 recession. Core was founded by CEO Jenny Enterprise, and wow, her name is Jenny Enterprise. Okay, interesting name. And takes up expansive 60,000 square feet and 4 floors of a Fifth Avenue. One of the most noteworthy features of the club, besides the 39-seat screening room and the 11 luxurious suites on site, is the full-floor Danjin Spa, run by Danjin Enterprise, wife of Jenny. Smiling practitioners close each door as I pass through on a recent visit. I think I'd buy anything Jenny Enterprise tried to sell me. She's charming, blonde, insanely driven, and looks like she was born to wear the rose sweaters over her shoulder. She built her first business as a teenager on Shelter Island, and not the lemonade stand, but the tennis camp. Started with $250, and which turned into $10,000 by the end of the summer. I started to realize that I sort of sensed the incrementalism is very important. You have to be able to execute an ambitious vision by being an incrementalist, right? Totally, I said. Let's see what this person looks like. CEO Jenny Enterprise. I'm assuming, you know, what am I assuming she looks like? Kind of like Carrie Bradshaw. Let's see if she looks like that. Let's see if she kind of looks like that. Hey, kind of, innit? You know, you got, you know, whatever that blonde is. Yeah, she looks like she means business. Big up Jenny Enterprise. What a fucking name, innit? Jenny fucking Enterprise. What's it called? It's called Core New York. I want to see what this place looks like. What does Core New York look like? I'm curious to see what Core New York looks like. Core New York. Oh, looks pretty nice, isn't it? Loads of chairs, mirrors, interesting bits of light and shit. You know how it is. Standard affair, but it looks pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. Some of these members clubs look like basically swanky hotels, innit? Like, if that makes any sense, like very small boutique hotels. That's what they also kind of look like, which I don't really like. I kind of like members clubs that kind of look a bit dirty and a bit dangerous. Let's continue. Maybe I'm looking for like is there such a thing as a dive bar members club? That must exist. That's what I kind of want. Maybe I'll make that myself. A members club that feels like a dives bar. Enterprise told me the club, which has an initiation fee of $15,000 to $100,000, prides itself on curating a global community of people obsessed with culture. Global community, you know. I bet you everybody that fucking is a member there is white. Global community. 15,000 to 100,000 fucking initiation. Who's paying that? In this way, the New York Athletic Club and core appear to be finding a way to replenish their memberships of older clubs. It's harder to say. People join the Yale Club because they want to eat at the same BOT that their ancestors have been enjoying for a century. People join New York's hottest restaurant, the clubs, because they want the tuna that caught in Japan yesterday. To me, demand of the former seems limited. Demand of the latter, I'll find out, is infinite. Fucking hell. Okay. Oh fucking K. Some of these places look really stuffy. Some of these places look really cool to kind of hang out in. But I think a lot of it is just the prestige of being somewhere where not a lot of people are basically allowed to go in. That's essentially what it is, you know. It's just another bar, really. It's not, you know, if you don't, especially if you don't drink, this is probably no fucking interest to you at all. At all, because, hey, why else would you be here if you don't drink? Like becoming a member of a private members club and then just drinking fucking non-alcoholic beverages, like, makes no sense. But yeah, loads of white people activities like yoga, loads of white looking people, and of course black security guards as always, which I always find hilarious. They'll probably deny me entry, but they have a security guard that looks like me at the door. Makes sense. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. Anyway, that's it, the article. I'm not reading the entire thing. You can check out yourself if you want to via the link in the description. But interesting article regarding the fucking prevalence of private members clubs all over the place nowadays, because I guess kids want a far different experience when they go out, and they just don't want the usual nonsense that everybody is fucking selling or pushing out there. Before we end, I wanted to cover, of course, Balenciaga Resort 2025. It just debuted the other day, and legitimately a real return to force. I feel like the previous collection, people had a lot of negative things to say, but I feel like Resort 2025, as a lot of other companies, a lot of other brands actually. I saw Burberry did really well. Daniel Lee, he's obviously somebody that I've spoken about very negatively on this channel before, because, you know, generally a lot of his collections were pretty shit at Burberry, but he smashed it at Burberry. He did pretty well. Even Pharrell, he had the Resort collection for Louis Vuitton, looks really nice. So I guess Resort has been the season that everyone's kind of just, you know, recovered and basically reminded everybody about who they fucking are. So here's Balenciaga's actual collection itself, and the standout pieces for me are obviously some of these amazing stacked double sole shoes, as you can see here, these crazy, obscene, monstrous boots. Essentially, it's the same boot that they have, I think, generally, the striker boot or the army boot that they usually have, but they've added this crazy, like, I guess 9-inch, maybe 9-inch sole on the bottom of them that make them look incredibly high. Or not look, they are incredibly high. And then of course you've got nice long trench coats, and you've also got a collaboration with Under Armour that debuted on this collection. And there's also the addition of these really cool clutches. I'm not sure if anybody else will think they're cool, but I quite like them. So there's a shoebox, a Balenciaga shoebox done, a clutch bag done in the style of a Balenciaga shoebox. I quite like that. I don't know about you, maybe people won't like that, but I quite like the idea of like carrying around a shoebox, but it's actually a clutch bag. You see the boots there featured here that they're wearing. I guess they've got zips on both sides, so you can wear them kind of open and splayed. They're probably going to make your ankle roll, but I do like the fact that they kind of splayed out so your feet can kind of stabilize a bit. One of my favorite looks in this collection is these two looks here. This is a very Y2K influence look number 13. And then you've also got look number 14 here that just looks fucking fantastic. Let me actually get this up on the other tab so you can see what I mean, because I think these two looks are fucking stupendous and will be doing absolute numbers out here on the streets of London when the collection does debut. I think the blacks and the Asians alike, and maybe some of the Middle Eastern brothers and sisters, will be all over this fucking shit when it actually ends up dropping. As you can see here, very Y2K inspired. This tracksuit thing kind of looks like Ed Hardy, right? It kind of looks like Ed Hardy. It kind of looks like Echo. It kind of looks like, you know, Juicy Couture. Like, it's got that kind of vibe about it. Bedazzled, loads of crazy foil print, gold on the front, bedazzlements on the hood, and nice fucking Go Faster stripes on the sleeves and shit. The sweatpants tucked into the boots with the exaggerated sole. Like this looks hard. I'd wear the whole entire look. That looks really fucking cool. And you've also got a double zip down the hood to make it look really cool. And I also like the addition of this. Is a little minor detail, but I like the fact that zip up hoods have no drawstrings on the hoodie. No one needs a drawstring. You just wear the hood over your head and that's it. You don't need a fucking drawstring on your hood. And obviously you got some frayed and distressed effects here on the seams itself, but definitely a sick look in that regard. And then you've also got this look that I've also was a big fan of. Look number 14 might be one of my favorite looks. This reminds me a lot of the kids that I kind of grew up with in my part of London, where you kind of wear your tracksuit pants underneath your jeans. It's a look that people did. I think they kind of did them because a lot of the kids were skinny and you wanted to fill out your trousers or just show off that you had a pair of Nike pants, but you'd wear your pants, your tracksuit trousers underneath your jeans, and then you'd have your jeans obviously sagging so you could see a little bit of the track pants and then your jeans sagging. That's something a lot of the kids, or a lot that we did when we were growing up in my part of London. So I like that kind of spin there. And then you've got this Under Armour Balenciaga collaboration hoodie there. You've also got the clutch that's made in the style of a box of shoes, and you've also got the addition of the boots. As you can see, they're really high, crazy boots. I'd wear the fuck out of these though. These look fucking insane, really weird, really uncomfortable probably to wear. Soft leather probably at the front, I guess. I like the hole in the middle. I wonder if the hole in the middle is to kind of make them lighter, or is to add to the stability. Maybe that's a kind of cheat way to kind of make them a little bit more functional, if that makes any sense. But there's a massive hole in the midsole right through the middle, so I wonder if that's like a design thing, or if that's just something that you do just to kind of add a bit of flair to make them look a bit different, or maybe that's what you do when you make those double sole shoes. Who knows? Either way, they look fucking sick. One of my favorite looks in the entire collection, so I really like those. You've got some cool glasses here featured, and you've also got this, which is really cool. You've got the addition of these really strange bags that are done in the style of a jacket or like of a jumper. So that particular one there, you see there's some more of a jacket style over like a tote bag that's done in the style of a jumper. You've got a tote bag that's done in the style of a duffel coat. I wonder if it's also multi-use. Maybe you can actually wear the coat, but it looks so you got there's a duffel. You've got there a bag done in the style of a leather jacket. That's a really cool design. I'm not really mad at all. You've got another one that's done in the style of a parka. I love this black parka here. I love a few of these looks here. Look number 24 and 22 look really cool. Again, this oversized shirt looks nice. Number 28 looks really cool as well. Some great details all over here featured. Some nice caggles there with a nice long strap. I don't know why I've always been a fan of this sort of stuff when you're walking down the street with a strap hanging down. I love the look of that. Also a nice tote bag, nice hats again, great overcoats. This shirling jacket here, look number 40, it's fucking brilliant. I'm also coming around to the idea of socks with high heels. Before I wasn't really aesthetically a big fan of them, but now I've seen them again and again and again. This kind of like trashy look with the socks over the tights worn with the heels, I like it. I just don't like when the fucking feet are really pressing against the socks. So I guess you have to ensure that you don't have the shoes are not too small and shit, I guess. Whatever. Also a nice little overgown here again, look number 48. I love the look of that. This bag on look number 43 and 44 is really cool as well. Nice sunglasses again. You've got another Oakley collaboration there with this reappropriated, redesigned kind of skirt situation parka bag thing on look number 50. It looks fucking cool, and just a really strong finish towards look number 57 and onwards. But one of the big things to come from this collection, no pun intended, aside from the boots that I showed you, aside from the boots that I've shown you or spoken about on this particular pod, one of the other big things to come from this particular collection has been the exaggerated trainers. I want to show if you guys have seen these trainers. Let me see if I can get them up. There you go. So look at these trainers that Balenciaga have done. They've taken their already exaggerated crazy trainer silhouette that you know them for, and they've made the sole even thicker than what you're used to. Even thicker. If you thought that sole was thicker, no, this sole is way more thicker. So this is look number 16 in Balenciaga Resort 2025, and look at these fucking shoes. Look at how crazy that sole is. Can you see that? That legitimately might be like 4 or 5 midsoles put on one shoe, and there's actually a far better picture of them here courtesy of the one and only Hypebeast, that shows the shoe in a far better light. Look at these platform sneakers. Look at them, courtesy of Hypebeast. Look at how crazy and gargantuan and just insanely nonsensical these things look. It's like they fucking squashed and morphed like 4 different midsoles in together. I fucking love it. I really do love it. They look so insane. They look so nutty that I would actually wear them. I'm not gonna lie. They look so fucking ridiculous. Definitely something that I'd be into wearing. So let me see some more pictures of them. You see them here from the side. And they've also maintained the distressing. So it's not even just added the soles onto them. They've also maintained that pre-distressed age look by making the midsole a bit dark and stuff and roughing them up on the sides. That looks pretty cool. And of course, you got the laces on top, which I'm sure don't really do much because it's more of a sock design than a lace is just there for style or aesthetic, basically. But you don't really probably need laces. They probably got a sock design. You can just put your foot in it and it's pretty fine. But those are fucking crazy, innit? Look at them. They legitimately, like, I think your actual foot might be about here, judging by how it's shaped. Your actual foot might come around here. So where this Balenciaga sign is there, your actual foot might come around here. That's where it is, there, right there. And then all of this is fucking extra sole, extra midsole. And it depends. Maybe what they should have done to make these more comfortable, if they're not comfortable, is maybe made the outside look like they're separate soles, but then on the inside it's a one piece, really soft sort of like PU midsole type of thing. That might help. But again, I haven't worn them, so I won't know. Maybe they are quite comfortable. And it's got like this sock upper as well at the top, which is nice too because it makes them lighter. Because there's all this mass here. You don't need to have extra paneling here, so they've got this sort of like sock lining thing at the top here that makes them a little bit easier to slip on and off. But they are fucking insane. They are legitimately insane. What the heck you say about these shoes? Sitting on a 6-inch platform, so technically 6.2 inches. The label's new platform sneaker elevates its wearers to impressive new heights. Blah blah blah. Crafted from mesh underlays, the sneakers are breathable despite the overwhelmingly layered look. Dipped in hues of red, silver, and black, the silhouette takes a rounded shape. Check out the sneaker gallery below. So I can't wait to see what they look like in other colorways as well. I'm eager to see what they end up looking like. No idea when they're gonna release exact dates and stuff, but I think these are gonna be really popular when they do drop. I think they're gonna be really fucking popular when they do fucking drop. So big up Balenciaga for those. I love the resort collection, fucking fire, and I can't wait to see most of the stuff when it does end up in the stores sooner rather than later. Okay, my friends, last topic now. I want to talk about this as we head out because I want to play a Gunna song to fucking end this pod. So as most of you guys know, One of One, courtesy of Gunna, came out a few weeks ago. I've still been playing it. It's been on loop for me. It's been one of my favorite albums to drop this year. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this album is because I'm conflicted, because I feel like he's kind of bucked expectations. I think a lot of people thought after the unfortunate, snitching that he did in the court, which wasn't really snitching, but of course, anything outside of no comment and get me my lawyer is going to make you sound like a rat. So because of all that stuff, a lot of people kind of looked to him differently and kind of felt like his career would have suffered because of that, because a lot of his great work was collaborative with artists and shit. But what we've seen with Gunna's new album, One of One, is that he's actually the special one. He's actually up there with Young Thug in terms of his ability to craft an entire album sonically, musically, that sounds incredible and it sounds interesting. That's very much his particular pocket without needing the assistance of other people. Because we thought he would suffer, or some people thought he would suffer the same way that Lil Baby suffered, where when the hit stopped working, suddenly by himself he didn't really have a leg to stand on. And maybe with Gunna, because of the snitching thing, when he came out, a lot of his colleagues in hip-hop, most of them anyway, ran away and didn't want to work with him anymore because they didn't really respect him and kind of thought that he kind of betrayed his friend, mentor, Young Thug, which, there is some truth to that. I think, maybe maybe Gunna does regret a little bit being too hasty to kind of confess as quickly as he did, or to clarify that, YSL was a gang the way that he did, because most likely he would have been released anyway, because he wasn't really involved in anything. He was mostly an artist that was signed on that label. But again, being in that situation, being locked up, with it being a huge RICO, with the profile of the case, with the intensity and the ferocity that they're going at people, the amount of witnesses, how long it's been going, there's no guarantee that if he didn't say what he said at the time that he said, that he wouldn't be out now. You know what I mean? There's no guarantee. So maybe he was like, you know what, I have to do what I have to do for the betterment of my family, of my career. I have to look out for number one, maybe. But, you know, it's hard to kind of ignore that sort of side of things. But if you do ignore that sort of side of things, you just focus on the music. This guy's special. This guy is special. He's special gravy, for real. He's definitely special. And I think we've seen now with One of One that he's able to kind of stand in his own feet. He doesn't need the features or collaborations like Lil Baby does. And he can definitely deliver a cohesive project that just resonates with people, and it resonated with me. And I've fucking loved it, and I've played it, you know, fucking continually every time since it's fucking dropped. There's been a day that I have not fucking played it. So I really wanted just to give more of a shout out in that regard, because I've actually really enjoyed the album, and it's kind of made me happy that when he did come out, he didn't kind of buck to the pressure, because there was a lot of pressure out there for him to kind of explain himself to people and to clarify what happened, especially during the heat of the moment. But it's like he did a good thing by taking a break, because he's never really been media friendly anyway. He doesn't really do many interviews anyway. He's kind of a bit, you know, he doesn't really have much to say anywhere as a person. He's not the most, you know, whatever. As much as I like him as an artist, I think most of his speaking, what he says, is mostly done through the music. But I like how he resisted the urge to say anything, because I remember when he was coming out of prison, people like Gunna and stuff, so people like academics, were very pushy and very insistent that he had to sit down with somebody and clarify what happened and clear the air and blah 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 blah. And it's like, there's nothing else that needs to be said. We heard what we heard. We heard the yes ma'ams. We've seen all the tape. We've seen the vid. Like, we knew. I think some people that, you know, have grown up in areas where people have gone in trouble and stuff, and you're familiar with the court system and shit, you knew he snitched the moment he was on video on that link. And it was like they were both in court. I think they were both on like Zoom or something, and they were both in the individual jails or wherever they were, and they both came up in the courtroom. And then Young Thug was being like really friendly, hey, what's up, like giving him just saying what's up to him and talking to him during the time they're waiting. And Gunna was like sheepishly, like not really looking. He obviously looked like he was going through some sort of withdrawals, but he was also very like, he looked kind of embarrassed, like he didn't want to look up, and he didn't want to look Young Thug in the eye, kind of thing. And you knew the moment, from that moment, that he probably said something. He definitely cooperated. He definitely, you know, confirmed some things and yes ma'am some things. So from that moment on, you know, it was whatever it was. But that aside, a lot of people were telling, oh, he needs to go and, you know, clear the air. There's no need to. We saw what we saw. So whether you think of the guy, you think of the guy. But musically, I'm glad he just said, hey, I can't say anything to make you guys like me or forgive me for what I've done. I did what I did for my own reasons. I'm not going to explain why I did it, but I'm going to just giving you music. I'm going to keep giving you fucking albums. I'm going to keep giving you fucking tunes, rhythms, whatever. And that's it. And you're going to fucking leave it just the way it is. So I really do appreciate that he did that, because we then got the great music that he's getting. He's on tour now at the moment, performing, looking incredible, by the way. He's in great fucking shape. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's feeling himself, always performing with his fucking top off, wearing crazy garments that he'd probably never wear. Now that he's lost a bunch of weight, and he looks very on it. Like maybe that stint in jail clarify some things for him. Maybe there was a time where he was maybe flirting with the idea of being a real gang member, a real gang banger, but now that he kind of faced some real time and saw the actual realities of what that life is like, he's like, you know what, nah, I like fucking bitches, I like wearing nice clothes, I like fucking sipping my lean or smoking my weed, whatever I like doing, and that's it. I don't want to do this other shit. And it's kind of focused him on just making sure he does that. And so far we've got, you know, the evidence of it, because the work is fucking outstanding. And again, all of this stuff is all without all the bait collaborations, because, you know, he's got collabs here with Offset, Normani, Leon Bridges and Roddy Ricch, but no one really cares about these people, right? Maybe with the exception of fucking Leon Bridges, who is obviously a really decent fucking R&B singer, but for the most part, no one's really looking for any of these people on these features. Like, he's having to get the leftovers, right? He's fighting for scraps, but the majority of the album is him solo, and the best tracks are the ones that aren't features. That's the funny thing. The best tracks are the ones that are not features. So big up fucking Gunna. One of One is legitimately one of my albums of the year. A fucking banging album. And again, another reminder that he is that guy. He actually is that guy. No collaborations, no big features, no help from the industry, really. He's kind of been left on his own. He's just him and his fans, putting out music, serving the fans, and just keeping it like that, and I fucking love it. So that's how I'm going to end the show. I'm going to play a track from this album called One of One, one of my favorites ones on there, and we're going to end it. So big up for listening. The Agostinho's English Show, episode number 782. Been a pleasure to have your company. If you're watching it via the YouTube live stream, make sure that you press the like button down below if you're enjoying the show. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you're listening via the audio app, audio podcast, you know, Apple, all that malarkey, make sure you also leave me a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. And links to all my socials and stuff can be found in the description. And thank you for tuning in so much. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Peace.